I am Tivon Rice, and for the past few years I've been working between the Netherlands and the United States, developing some forms of narrative that explore how we exist in the world alongside new technologies. So this includes working with images of landscapes, often at the intersections of nature and human intervention. And quite recently, these narratives include language generated through artificial intelligence or machine learning systems. It's been wonderful to work closely with Fiber throughout my time in Europe. And this has included a number of presentations, discussions, workshops, and field trips, each of which invited diverse groups to speculate or think critically and creatively about our present and future relationships with the environment. This specific project, called Models for Environmental Literacy, is the result of my work with Fiber and a number of other partners over the past 2 years. And these films create a series of dialogues between 3 artificial voices. One system was trained to emulate environmental science texts, another was trained on eco-philosophy, and another on eco-fiction. Then these computer-generated discussions are sort of accompanied by visual landscapes that were 3D scanned with the help of Fiber in the Netherlands, as well as BioArt Society in Finland and the Baltic Sea. Specifically focusing on landscapes that exist in some kind of paradoxical relationship between so-called natural and human-made environments, or between geocentric and anthropocentric timeframes. Working with AI and language, we can think about a system of inputs, a process, and outputs, or results. And to take that oversimplification a step further, we could also say the same thing about human language. When I read a book, I process that information relative to all the language and memories and encounters that I've had up to that point. And what results, if the book was at all meaningful, is a changed viewpoint that will sort of stay with me from that point on. What's different between these two systems is that the output from many natural language processing systems is not stored back within the AI or the language model. So in a sense, it may have a very fixed memory or a fixed understanding of language. So with this project, I wanted to make a more complex system of inputs and outputs, where the result from one model becomes the prompt for another, and so on and so on, creating a kind of feedback loop between me and the scientist, the philosopher, and the author. When I think about this festival's theme, I'm challenged by this question. When we encounter moments of instability, be they pandemic-related or social or environmental, are there opportunities to actually invite some degree of instability into our understanding of those moments? And this question sort of underlies my use of artificial or non-human voices in this project. Of course, they were trained by and guided by human language along the way, but they seem to function somewhere within the spectrum of human and non-human ways of thinking. Actually, in one of the films, the artificial voice of the author seems to speculate about the idea of isolation in regard to its own existence within this spectrum. And it says that this isolation points to our modern anxieties and resentments of the non-human, a deep unbinding of our relation to something other than us. But there must be some ways in which we can get around this problem of unbinding. Perhaps if we can wrap our head around the idea of two-headed gods, such creative intrusions into the sacred can make their way back into our hearts and our culture. So when these artificial agents sort of create a viewpoint or say something that is seemingly abstract or absurd or even poetic when regarding the environment, I think it can serve to destabilize and thus expand our thinking, or allow for these sort of creative intrusions into our thinking about these situations. And this is precisely my interest in working with tools like artificial intelligence that are normally developed for and used by large corporations, that perhaps finding and amplifying the paradoxical or creative or non-human perspectives that reside within these systems can in a way liberate them from the technological and even extractive industries that use them so pervasively.